Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Scary Story channel. Today, we're venturing into a place that many have warned against, a location whispered about in hushed tones and marked by a history of unexplained events. It's a place known simply as the Cursed Corridor. This isn't a story from some ancient forgotten castle. No, this corridor is in a seemingly ordinary building, a university dormitory built in the late 1970s. From the outside, Northwood Hall looks just like any other student residence. Brick walls, rows of identical windows, and a well-trodden lawn. But on the third floor, at the very end of the east wing, lies a hallway that has earned a chilling reputation. The stories began almost as soon as the dorm opened. Students assigned to the rooms along this specific stretch of hallway started reporting strange occurrences. At first it was minor things. Doors creaking open on their own, even when locked. The distinct feeling of being watched when no one was there. Objects moving from where they were left. A textbook found on the floor. A coffee mug shifted to the edge of a desk. Most students brushed it off, blaming old pipes, drafts, or just the stress of college life. But the incidents didn't stop. They escalated. One of the earliest and most well-documented accounts comes from a student named Mark in 1982. Mark was a studious, no-nonsense kind of guy, not prone to flights of fancy. He lived in room 314, the second to last room in the corridor. He started hearing faint whispering at night, what sounded like a conversation happening just on the other side of his wall. But his neighbor was rarely in, and when he was known for being completely silent. The whispering had a strange quality to it, rhythmic and repetitive, but the words were indecipherable. Mark tried to ignore it, stuffing pillows over his head, but the sound seemed to seep through everything. Then came the shadows. He'd be sitting at his desk, studying late into the night, and a fleeting shadow would dart across his peripheral vision. When he'd turn, there was nothing there. The hallway outside his room was always dimly lit, and the flickering fluorescent lights didn't help. He'd often see a tall, slender shadow moving down the hall from the corner of his eye when he glanced through his peephole. But when he'd open the door, the corridor would be utterly empty. The air in the hallway was always colder than anywhere else in the building. A deep, damp cold that clung to your clothes. Mark's experience wasn't unique. Over the years, countless students shared similar stories. There was Sarah in the early 90s, who swore she saw a face in her mirror one night. Not her own, but that of an old woman with sunken eyes and a lipless smile just for a second before it vanished. Then there was a group of friends in 2005 who dared each other to spend a night in the hallway. They armed themselves with sleeping bags and flashlights, laughing and joking. But as the night wore on, the laughter died. They all reported hearing footsteps, slow and heavy, pacing back and forth right outside their sleeping bags. Yet, whenever they shined their flashlights, the corridor was empty. They didn't last a whole night. They fled before sunrise, vowing never to go back. So, what is the source of this curse? Like any good legend, there are several theories. The most popular one dates back to the construction of the dormitory. The land Northwood Hall was built on was once part of a large estate owned by a reclusive family in the early 20th century. The story goes that the matriarch of the family, Elara, was a bitter and lonely woman who lost her only child to a sudden illness. Consumed by grief, she reportedly practiced dark rituals in an attempt to bring her child back. Locals at the time were terrified of her, claiming she had made a pact with something malevolent. She died alone in the house and her body wasn't discovered for weeks. It's said that the Cursed Corridor was built directly over the part of the old house where Elara performed her rituals, and where she ultimately died. Believers in this theory say that Elara's tormented spirit is forever bound to that spot. She resents the young, happy students living their lives where her own was filled with so much pain. The whispering is her, endlessly repeating the incantations she used. The cold spots are the lingering chill of her desolate heart. The shadowy figure is her restless form, still searching for the child she could never get back. Some even claim that the face in the mirror is Elara's, her misery so profound that it can momentarily imprint itself on reflective surfaces. Another, less supernatural theory points to a tragic event that occurred in the 1980s. A student, whose name has been lost to time or perhaps deliberately obscured by the university, was living in the last room of the corridor, room 316. He was struggling with his studies and suffering from severe depression. Feeling isolated and overwhelmed, he took his own life in that room. The university, wanting to avoid a scandal, quickly and quietly handled the situation. The room was cleaned, repainted, and a new student was moved in within a week. Proponents of this theory believe the paranormal activity is the manifestation of the student's despair. His energy, full of sorrow and regret, has stained the very walls of the corridor. The footsteps are his, pacing anxiously as he did in his final hours. The feeling of being watched is his lingering presence, a silent observer of the life he left behind. This theory is particularly chilling because it feels so plausible, so tragically human. The university has never officially confirmed this story, but records from that time are conveniently incomplete, which only fuels the speculation. Over the decades, the university has tried to downplay the stories. They've renovated the hallway multiple times, replaced the lighting, and even renumbered the rooms to try and break the stigma. For a while, they stopped assigning students to the last few rooms, claiming they were being used for storage. But the stories persist. Maintenance workers have their own tales to tell, of tools going missing only to reappear in impossible places, of hearing their names called out in an empty hallway, and an overwhelming sense of dread that makes them finish their work as quickly as possible. One janitor, who worked at the university for over 30 years before retiring, shared a particularly unnerving experience. He was cleaning the cursed corridor late one night around 2 a.m. It was summer break, so the entire dorm was empty. As he was mopping the floor near room 316, he heard a sound from inside the room, a soft, rhythmic thumping. Thump, 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 like someone gently knocking on the inside of the door. He froze. He knew for a fact the room was empty and locked. The sound stopped. Gathering his courage, he used his master key to unlock the door and peek inside. The room was bare. Empty bed frame, empty desk, dusty floor. He was about to close the door, relieved, when he heard it again. Thump! Thump! This time it came from inside the closet. He slammed the door shut, locked it, and didn't look back. He requested to never be assigned to clean that building alone at night ever again. So what happens in the cursed corridor today? Well, the rooms are now back in use. But the legends act as a sort of rite of passage for new students at the university. It's a dare, a place to test your bravery. Every Halloween, students gather to tell stories about the corridor, each one seemingly more embellished than the last. Some even try to communicate with the spirits using Ouija boards or EVP recorders, often claiming to get responses, faint whispers, electronic voice phenomena that say, "Leave" or "Help me." Is it all just mass hysteria, the power of suggestion fueled by decades of ghost stories? Or is there truly something dark and ancient trapped within the walls of that unassuming dormitory hallway? Whether it's the vengeful spirit of Alara, the tragic soul of a forgotten student, or something else entirely, one thing is certain: the cursed corridor has earned its name. Those who have walked it, especially late at night, will tell you that the feeling of unease is real, the cold is real, and the feeling that you are not alone is something you will never, ever forget. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the cursed corridor. What do you think is haunting this place? Let me know your theories in the comments below. And if you have a scary story you'd like to share, you know where to find me. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the Scary Story channel for more chilling tales. Until next time, stay safe and try not to listen for whispers in the dark.